This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. A chilly day on this Sunday afternoon here in St. Louis in the rubber game from Busch Stadium. The Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. And with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us as we wrap up the homestand today here at Busch Stadium. Cincinnati won on Friday night. The Cardinals winners yesterday, so it sets up game number 3. Yesterday, it was all about Marcell Ozuna, a free agent to be. So he's playing for a lot, and the Cardinals could benefit an awful lot if he puts together a good year.
5 RBIs yesterday for Ozuna, home run and a double. When the Cardinals got Ozuna a season ago, they got him to provide thump. They wanted him to be the guy in the middle of the lineup driving the baseball. Well, last season, he didn't do that early. Only 2 home runs at this point in the season. This year, he's up among the league leaders in both home runs and RBIs, and he is indeed providing the thump.
Marcell Ozuna, exclusive company, the Kubota Power Stats. Cardinals all-time, the most home runs hit before May 1st. Albert with 14 in 2006. Big Mac in the summer of 70 at 11. And Marcell Ozuna with 10 thus far. The bullpen has been sensational for St. Louis. A difference maker from day number 1. The studio takes a look at that when we come back. Rubber game. The Cincinnati Reds took game 1, convincing fashion on Friday night. Then yesterday, the Marcell Ozuna show. Now we have game number 3. The Cards and Reds coming up. Baseball is pride. Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. By Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the St. Louis area. Find yours at your Mid-America Chevy dealer. And by Steak and Shake. Get 4 meals with 4 items for $4. 4 for $4. Get more for $4 only at Steak and Shake. It's the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals on this cold, chilly Sunday afternoon. And along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is always with us. 52 degrees here in the Gateway City.
It's chilly, but you hope the Cardinals bats continue to stay hot. They've had quite a homestand as they take the field, and they have really been carrying this team, especially down the middle of the lineup.
So Jed Jerko, his second start of 2019. He'll be at third base today. Matt Carpenter with the day off as we wrap up the homestand here this afternoon. But Jed made his impact felt on this season, in this series, Friday night.
Well, we were so excited to watch him pitch for the, I guess, the second time. And, you know, we kind of knew he'd be the guy that Mike Schilt would use if he needed an extra pitcher, and it was getting to that point. And he came in and got a strikeout, kept the baseball, and I guess has a memory for the rest of his life. But I know what he loves to do is hit.
And hit bombs.
You bet.
30 couple of years ago. Jack Flaherty getting the call today, start number 6.
Yeah, we'll leave the pitching to him. Start number 6, as you mentioned, and he's been solid. The ERA a little high, but the strikeouts per 9, only Max Scherzer has a higher number in the National League. And here's his Hyundai pitch arsenal. Fastball, slider, curveball, change. The curveball and changeup, think about those 2 pitches against left-handed batters. He's not going to use them very often against right-hander.
So David Bell trying to turn things around in Cincinnati. And the Reds come in with a record of 11-15. And his lineup presented by GMC. Votto at the top, then Suarez and Winker, Yasiel Puig, Tucker Barnhart, Jose Iglesias, Scott Schebler, Sonny Gray. They picked him up in the offseason, the pitcher batting 8th, and Jose Peraza batting 9th. That was the first question, by the way, to Mike Shildt in his scrum with the media in his office. He said, so you're batting the pitcher 8th, huh? You're trying to take, you know, some of the other ideas away from managers.
Because and he said, Mr. Jerko's there.
Right, and he didn't quite get it. He was like, what? Oh, well, I don't get it. Oh, now I get it. Jerko batting 8th.
There
now
you go.
I get it.
Oh, he does have a great sense of humor. I will say he enjoys chatting about what's going on a daily basis. He's just really a pleasure to be around.
It's been great. I think his team has reflected that as well. Mike telling us, and there's a strike to Votto. He said, boy, our guys have bought in. And he said, that's all I can ask. You know, we're putting in the work as coaches and as the manager, but it's the players' game, and they have bought in to putting in the work since day one in spring training.
Something Whitey Herzog used to say all the time. It's a player's game, and it always will be. I mean, they're the ones doing it or not, and you put them in positions to succeed. But the player, as Tony La Russa would say, you either do or you don't.
That's right. And the 1-1 taken high. 2 balls and a strike on Votto. His 1600 career appearance. He's hit safely in 15 of 22 starts. But struggling here in his last 10. Now, he did homer on Friday night, but surprisingly, the average the last 10 games at 207. And the real surprise, the 13 strikeouts.
2010 MVP and 6-time All-Star will be hitting 300 next time we see him.
Can book it. And that is off the glove of the Cardinal second baseman Colton Wong. And that'll be an error. It's a rare miscue there by what could be the Gold Glover this year.
That one kind of eats him up because he's not sure whether to go back on it or come in on it, and he essentially got caught in between. Talk about hitters being in between. He was in between defensively.
Around the horn presented by Dobbs. Ozuna, Fowler, and Martinez in the outfield. Jerko, DeYoung, the aforementioned Wong, and Goldschmidt on the infield, and Molina behind the plate. So it is scored an error on Colton Wong, and now Suarez, who also homered on Friday night.
I remember Jose Oquendo saying several years ago that Colton Wong was having some jittery problems defensively, and he said, you know, you worried about him making an error? And he said, no, I don't worry about him making an error. The thing I worry about with a young fielder is the next ball that's hit to him, not the error. Those are going to happen. And I thought that was a pretty profound statement.
And a fly ball to Fowler in center field as he makes the catch. Mike Shildt was quick to point out today the throw by Fowler to get a base runner trying to score in game 2. And also, he thought maybe even more impressive his catch up against the wall midway through.
Well, he's throwing better. He's taking better routes, and also even on the throws, it's not just the strength of the throw that seems better this year. It's all the movement as well. He's got everything moving towards home plate on that base hit to center. That's a huge difference maker in the game. I mean, it absolutely is. And Fowler came up big, and he's really certainly taken some steps, many steps forward defensively in 2019.
Here's Jesse Winker. He started the season 1 for 24, but since that time, 7 home runs. And a .321 average, those 7 homers lead the Reds. And that ties his career high in 17 and 18.
This is year number 3 for him. He's hit right around 300 his first 2 seasons in the big leagues. 7 home runs each of those years, and already has 7. Isn't that crazy?
It was interesting talking with Jeff Brantley and Marty Brennaman before the game as well over in the Reds radio booth. And they asked me, has the ball ever been flying out of here like we saw on Friday night? Because Marty said, I've never seen it like that. And they hit 5 home runs, and the ball is jumping out of ballparks across the major leagues.
But I think Marty's point is when you come to St. Louis, you may see it in other ballparks. If you're in Baltimore, obviously, if you're in Milwaukee, but you come to St. Louis, and it was almost like St. Louis was the adjuster. St. Louis was the place where, okay, now you got to really hit a home run to hit one here. But I think he's noticing that it is indeed flying out.
I think of Lane Thomas's home run that barely cleared the wall over and right, and we had a couple just get over the wall in this series.
And the one Ozuna hit to right that almost went out yesterday, hit off the top of the wall. Again, he hit it hard, but you just didn't think of that as maybe having a chance of going out, and almost did. And the number of home runs we've seen to center field.
Yeah. Well, the Mets, Pete Alonso put one up on the concrete behind the green grass in center, and that's the first time I'd seen a regular season or postseason home run go that deep. You see it in BP occasionally. Three and one the count here on Winker. The runner at first, Joey Votto. And a good slider.
Well, let's hope Jack Flaherty is not listening to us while he's pitching, which I think would be probably unlikely. But home runs have been an issue for him, so he doesn't want to hear any home run talk. He's given up 7 on the Cincinnati side. Their starter today, Sonny Gray, has only given up 1 so far this year.
Flaherty allowed a career high 3 against Milwaukee last start on Monday. And the 3-2 pitch struck him out. Comes back to get him, and the first strikeout for Jack Flaherty.
Well, here's the hard breaking slider. It almost looked like a cutter. 94. The swing for Winker was if he swung at a slider, but I think that was a fastball that just had a little cut movement to it, and he couldn't catch up to it. Well placed.
Well, Yasiel Puig comes in and is averaged just above 200, and yet leads their club in runs batted in with 15. Good pitch, and strike one.
If you ever hear a player talking about waving at a slider, get your mind on that last swing. That's what he did.
Very short lead at first by Votto. 0-2 the count. That's now 236 batters that Flaherty has struck out, this being his 40th career game. And that's most by any Cardinals pitcher, and tied for 21st all-time in baseball history in their first 40 games.
He surpassed Ankiel on that.
Yes. Rick was at 225, and now Jack at 236. It is a nasty slider when right, and he got beat up a little bit a couple of times against Milwaukee, but when he's right, Ricky, I mean, he's as good as anybody in the game.
Plus stuff, and when you have more than one plus pitch, you have the ability to dominate. That's why he tends to get all the strikeouts he gets.
And the 0-2 fouled back. Well, Puig, it was a slow start for him. 5 for his first 38. And since that time, hitting 260. His first plate appearance of the 3rd game of the year. He drew a walk and hasn't drawn one since.
I wonder if they'll bust him in here. He's starting to look for that slider away.
They do, and they tie him up.
Getting a little too comfortable at the slider. And they weren't bad pitches, and so that's normally the way you fix that. You come back in, keep him honest, then you go finish him off away.
Oh, 0-2 the count with 2 outs. So back outside with the slider. Puig is such an intriguing player, isn't he?
He really is. You're just not sure what you're going to get in more ways than one. On the field and off the field.
Great speed, incredible arm, raw power.
You know, as a teammate, you can get, I would guess you could get 3 or 4 different answers from different teammates, and I've gotten 3 or 4 different answers about, you know, what was he like as a teammate? Oh, great. fun, awesome, loved him. Other answers not so enthusiastic. So he's volatile. Let's put it that way.
In his return to L.A., there was an article written and basically summing up what you just talked about. Some teammates good, some teammates so-so. Those are ex-teammates. 2-2, and the fastball low and outside, and Flaherty a couple of times has looked back at the mound and it looked like there he slipped.
Did not have a smooth landing. May have gone out a little bit too far with his stride. You know, pitchers kind of are so accustomed to repeating what they do. They normally land in the same spot, but if you're a little bit past it or a little bit short of it, sometimes you do a little slide right before or after that hole.
Runner off with the pitch. That's Votto, the 3-2. Up and in, so a 2-out walk to Puig. He had him at 0-2. And it brings in Tucker Barnhart, runners at first and second. 9-pitch at bat there for Puig. I think that's the other thing the Cardinals would like to see more of. Efficient innings for Flaherty. He's not, and it's really across the board, but hasn't gone very deep into games.
Well, a step forward with Dakota Hudson yesterday on that score. Mike Schilt telling us before the game he did take the step forward, and not having the 100 pitches in 4 1/3 innings or 5 innings is certainly a good trend for him.
Barnhart, a switch hitter, the 0-1, and it is caught by Colton Wong. Takes the hit away and an RBI, and that's how you make up for the air. A spectacular play to his left to help out Jack Flaherty. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Well, Rick, this is how it always go. You know, you make the error,
right?
Then you have the catch that takes away a hit.
Yes, saved a run.
It saved a run, and then you get to lead off.
Well, I've always said when you make a great play defensively, it seems like 11% of the time you lead off the next inning. You agree?
Unfortunately, yes. Sick of your text messages in the middle of games telling me we're 11% done. GMC lineup: Wong, Goldschmidt, and DeYoung, Ozuna, Martinez, Molina, Fowler, Jerko, and Flaherty. As Sonny Gray will make start number 6 for the Reds.
Well, he has been a good strikeout pitcher the last 2 games. 9 strikeouts, in fact. Has a plus breaking ball, and isn't really good with the first pitch strike as he pumps this strike on the outside corner, but he doesn't walk a lot of batters. There's his arsenal. Hyundai pitch arsenal: fastball, curve, slider, sinker, changeup, cutter, kitchen sink.
You got it. So Carpenter, Mike Schilt saying that nothing wrong, just a day off, and he'll be ready to go either later in this game or in Washington tomorrow. So Wong moving up to the leadoff spot. There's Matt Carpenter, 1-2 the count. Sonny Gray was with the Yankees, and he felt that he went away from his style of pitching, and he's been vocal about it, and he says, I'm getting back to where I should be. As Wong hits it off the mound and into the shift. That's the second time we've seen that in this series. The other one was Tyler O'Neill. In steps Paul Goldschmidt. 13-game hitting streak. Longest as a Cardinal, one away from his career long.
And hitting .385 during the streak too, with some power and some RBIs. So this is why the Cardinals coveted getting Goldschmidt in their lineup.
And the first pitch, a strike, as we turn to Rick Horton's Toyota key to the game.
Well, the key to me is just continue to ride the hot hands, and mostly think of Goldschmidt and Molina and their hitting streaks going on, but there's several others that you can include in that. But just keep hitting. Don't focus on what the other team's doing. Don't worry. Just keep hitting, keep swinging, keep that positive vibe going, and win a series.
1 ball and 1 strike. Always love having the opportunity to MC our season ticket holder events. Did that today, and John Mozeliak will do a Q&A. And he was asked about the Goldschmidt trade, and the 2-1 is tap foul. And he said essentially that's what we worked on the entire offseason, was to get him to St. Louis. We targeted him. We wanted him. It was constant communication with Arizona and their front office. And then it finally came to fruition. And then he expounded on that with the extension. And he said that was a surprise. As Goldschmidt lifts it in the air, right center, it's tailing, and it's caught. A basket catch by Schebler on the track.
Well, there's another example of the ball carrying here at Busch Stadium. Goldschmidt hit that pretty well, but almost gets to the wall in deep right center. Nice play by Schebler.
Reds defense presented by Dobbs, Winker, Schebler, and Puig. Suarez, Iglesias, Peraza, and Votto, and Tucker Barnhart behind the plate. But just to finish the thought on Goldschmidt, he said, let's get him here, as he talked about, expose him to the environment. But he said it was a surprise to get it done as early as they did.
A very pleasant surprise.
You bet.
You know, some surprises aren't good, Dan.
Oh, I know. He said with Goldschmidt, you know, as he gets older and guys will, you know, decrease their ability to play the game a little bit. I mean, it's natural, you get older. He said, but when we looked at the kind of shape he keeps himself in, plays every day, we still feel by the end of that deal he's elite. And it was probably the deal of the offseason in Major League Baseball.
I would agree.
2-2 the count.
People in Philadelphia may disagree with that in terms of what the biggest deal was, although that was just a free agent signing.
Sure.
But in terms of trades, I don't think there's any question about it.
And the 2-2. It is interesting, the point that you bring up. Beginning of spring training, all we heard about was labor stoppage, owners not spending money, and you look up now, how could you possibly say that?
Right.
A lot of deals have been handed out. And a fly ball into right field, and the catch made by Puig. So the Cardinals go in order. It'll be Iglesias, Schebler, and Gray coming up. The great Stan the Man statue just outside Busch. No score. Check in with Jim.
Dan, GM Michael Gersh says Alex Reyes, apparently frustrated after his last start for Memphis, punched a wall with his left hand, that's his non-throwing hand, and fractured his left pinky. Reyes goes to the injured list. He's now at extended spring in Jupiter. Gersh says they'll modify Alex's program, having him throw from behind a screen, and will have someone catch balls for him while his left pinky heals. Gersh says the plan is for Reyes to keep throwing and keep stretching out, but it will just be part of a different program. Gersh says they expect Reyes to need about 3 weeks for that left pinky to heal. Dan?
Yeah, not good news. And this is Iglesias here in the top of the second. I asked Mike, as we were both down there, Ricky, about, you know, being the non-throwing hand and why he couldn't continue to pitch. And he said, well, it's broken, and if there's a comebacker or something that he's got to catch that's hard, you know, that's problematic. He can't do it.
So they'll find ways to do some simulated throwing. He can still throw, but he's going to do it behind the screen with somebody feeding him a ball, and there won't be any defense as a part of that. And just so you keep your arm in shape, if you go 3 weeks without throwing, you start spring training all over again. You can add a few more weeks to the back end of it. So just a kind of a bad moment. I'm sure frustrating for him, but it's frustration that came from a self-inflicted moment of dealing with frustration, probably improperly. So I feel for him. Just disappointing.
Yep. And it's 2-2 on Iglesias, and a swing and a miss. Strikeout number 2 for Flaherty. I mean, we've seen it so many times where position player, pitcher gets frustrated and they do damage to themselves, and that's not a good thing, obviously.
It's happened several times. The one I was closest to was the story of John Tudor after the World Series game in 1985. And I remember hearing the story in the clubhouse that somebody came in and said, hey, John Tudor just broke his hand. He punched a fan. And I thought he punched a fan at the ballpark. A person, yes.
Ozuna makes the catch.
So it was a little better that he actually punched an electric fan as opposed to a paying fan.
I would say so. As Schebler flies out to Ozuna, it brings in Sonny Gray. And speaking of those 80s teams, Tommy Hurst still here, and he was signing at that event I was at today. And I said that we need to look harder at Tommy Herr being in the Cardinals Hall of Fame.
Something that Mike Schill brought up to us and said he was a huge Tommy Herr fan. I mean, in the formative years of him loving baseball, he just loved the way Tommy went about his business.
Said he also enjoyed our visit with Tommy. So thank you, Mike. At least we have one fan. One ball and one strike.
Now I'm assuming he watched that later because he did not leave his post.
That's correct.
To go into the clubhouse and say, hey, wait a minute, somebody else take over here. Rick and Dan are talking to Tommy Herr. Hold on a minute.
I just, for me growing up here, born and raised here, it's a thrill to visit with guys like Tommy, yourself, Ozzie. As we mentioned yesterday, that was the group that really brought so many fans back to the game here in St. Louis. The 70s had some great players, but they were just short on good teams, not great teams. And Whitey turned that all around. And the 2-2 up the middle, and Wong won't get there. And a base hit for Sonny Gray, his first of 2019.
Really just a hanging breaking ball for Flaherty. He left it right up in the middle of the plate. And in some ways fortunate that a pitcher was batting, even though he swings the bat pretty well. But you don't hang one up there to a power hitter and get away with it.
And it brings in Barraza batting 182. So 2 outs and a runner at first. Goldschmidt playing behind Sonny Gray. Flaherty went 6 innings. Last start struck out 10 in a 13-5 win. And that was against Milwaukee. And a high fly ball that'll carry to Ozuna. He's under it. And Marcel, the Cardinal cleanup man, is due up first. Always fun, isn't it, to visit with Jim Hayes? Yachty got him in the postgame yesterday. Reminder, the best way to take in games, if you're not watching on Fox Sports Midwest or Fox Sports Go, check out MLB at Bat. All the stats, highlights, and more, MLB at Bat. Good folks at Lou Fuse, the Lou Fuse Automotive Network. Check them out at fuse.com. This date in Cardinal history, April 28th, 2011, Berkman. Lance wearing a Cardinal uniform. 2 home runs in his return to Houston. And he truly will go down as one of the great switch hitters in baseball history. The numbers bear that out.
And every time we see Lance in St. Louis, and he's been back several times, he'll say that, I was here for a year and then I was here for another year and I was hurt and didn't do much. And yet when I come back to St. Louis, I feel like I'm more welcome here than I am in my hometown.
Right.
Where he played, for goodness sakes. I mean, he just loves this connection here in St. Louis. And St. Louis has had so many players like Larry Walker, Carlos Beltran, Lance Berkman, and now Paul Goldschmidt, who are stars with other teams, and then you get a chance to watch him as Cardinals.
Here's Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna, the hanging breaking ball, yanks it foul. Game 6 of 2011 always will be remembered because of the heroics of David Freese, but there was a lot of players that had truly great moments, and Berkman was one of them. Bottom of the 10th. You may recall 2 on, 2 outs, and 2 strikes. Lance came up, and the 5th pitch of that at bat lined it into center off of Scott Feldman. That's brought in John Jay. So again, the Cardinals down to the final strike of the season, and then it tied the game up at 9-9. So he continued the year, continued the game, and the rest is history with David Freese.
I think David would be the first one to tell you, you know, because he's gotten so much attention from that game, well-deserved attention, and we're going to love David Freese in St. Louis forever. But he likes to say, and I think rightly so, that there are a whole lot of other things that went on to get to that point.
There's a 2-1 pitch, fouled back. With this kind of start, free agent to be Marcell Ozuna, you may be curious if the Cardinals have talked to him at all about an extension, and the answer is no. That has not happened yet, but many times that is done behind closed doors, and it's got to be a two-way street.
Totally. As we were speaking of David Freese, I'm told that it is his 36th birthday today.
And you have to wonder if it's the last time we saw or have seen now David Freese here at Busch Stadium, barring the postseason. He's with the Dodgers. They've already come through. A little chopper to Suarez, but that very well could have been the final time we see him in St. Louis. He has indicated that this may be it for him.
Well, he's finishing well, that's for sure.
That's Stubby, and on the other side it's Clapp. Brings in Martinez. 414 with a home run on this homestand. He's reached base in 15 of his last 31 plate appearances. The primary starter in right field, Rick. And he'd love to shake hands with Stubby.
Yes, he would.
Votto has to retreat, get back to the bag. Started after that baseball, and there's 2 away, 5 up and 5 down. Brings in Yadier Molina, swinging a hot bat for the Cardinals. 14-game hitting streak, couple of home runs. And in those 14 games, driven in 15.
Well, Yadi's been doing it against the Cincinnati Reds his entire career. 23 home runs, 296 average against Cincinnati. And I guess a lot of teams, when they think about Yadier Molina, they think about the longevity of his play, great defense. But there's some teams where he just mashes the ball too. Cincinnati would be one.
And right down the middle. So 14 games, second in the National League behind Trevor Story of the Rockies at 15. And streak a team high this year. It's a 14th time he's had a hitting streak of 10 or more games. His career high is 16. Did that in 2017.
So a good early sign in this game is that Gray is not blowing the Cardinals away. He's a high strikeout guy, swing and miss, getting guys to chase. But the Cardinals have hit some balls hard, and they're putting it in play. Wong should have had a base hit. Goldschmidt hit a ball deep to right. I mean, there's been some well hit balls here, and keep the strikeouts down and good things happen. One thing about Sonny Gray is he's kind of an all or nothing guy. You mentioned his struggles with the Yankees last year after really a great start to his career with the A's, their first round pick, and he was an all-star, but trying to regain his form. There he gets strikeout number 1.
Top of the lineup for Cincinnati coming up. That means Joey Votto. Ricky with you the night off on May 7th. 20,000
right?
fans. Yep. 16 and older take home that unique Cardinals t-shirt courtesy of StubHub. And that'll highlight our new heavy-hitting first baseman, Paul Goldschmidt. Cardinals.com/t-shirt. That's the t-shirt of the month. And you also have Grateful Dead night off.
I do?
Yep.
Huh.
You traveled a couple years, my understanding, in the summers, right? From your playing career to broadcasting. You needed some time away and
went ahead with the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
No, I did grow up very close to Woodstock, though.
Did you?
Yes. I was only 9, so I didn't really know what was going on.
Neither did a lot of people that were there.
Apparently.
0-2 the count here on Joey Votto. Reached on an air by Wong, first time up. He's a .322 hitter in his career at this ballpark. 13 home runs. And almost hit by the slider in that back foot.
So that pitch is literally called a back foot slider. And the thing you really don't want to do is hit the guy in the back foot. But you're throwing it in that direction and trying to get him to chase.
And the 1-2 pitch. He has put together a Hall of Fame resume. And he signed long-term, Joey Votto. The 2-2. Popped up left side, giving chase. Jerko and out of play. The career numbers for Joey Votto. Doesn't do it justice when you think about on base percentage and walks.
And talking about that, you and I talked about it yesterday. We talked about it on the post game show. It's just when you think of Joey Votto, you think, will we change what we think in terms of the number that gets you in the Hall of Fame to include walks?
And there's a base hit. His career on base percentage .426. Almost half the time he's getting on base.
So they're Hall of Famers that are all around him with that career on base percentage. And if you think about all-time great players, and yet we think 3,000 hits. Well, if he doesn't get 3,000 hits, but he gets 4,000 hits plus walks, and he's up there in terms of on-base percentage all time, I mean, you certainly have to consider him.
He's got 1,117 career walks. Cardinals have walked him more than any other team. 133 times.
Well, they tell you when you're 9 years old, a walk's as good as a hit. And I guess the question is it really?
I would say with some of the teams that he was on, expanding the zone and doing damage. I would have preferred that if I was a Reds fan.
Yes.
Because he could do it, especially in that ballpark.
Well, could do it, but wouldn't do it.
Yeah, he refused.
Yep.
And said he was not going to do it and spoke about it publicly all the time. Here's a 1-1 pitch now to Suarez. Little check swing. Goldschmidt to second. Out there, back to first, double play. Goldschmidt, DeYoung, and Flaherty covering the bag.
It was the second time that Votto has been caught in the middle of a double play on a ground ball to the right side. This one started by Goldschmidt. And the 3-6-1 double play. And Flaherty's got to work really hard to get over there in time to receive this throw. That's running straight to the bag. A pitcher is taught to run to the line and then up the line if it's a ground ball to the first baseman who's going to be feeding you. But on a double play, you go straight to the bag, turn around, receive the throw.
So now 2 outs, and here's Winker. And a foul ball. Joey Votto, by the way, was part of our Hall of Fame special and had some words about Scott Rowland, and he said that when Rowland got to Cincinnati, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially was a leader in our clubhouse and taught us how to get over the hump and win. Remember, under Dusty Baker, they had some playoff teams, with Roland being kind of the catalyst and leader of that team. And congratulations to Scott, family of Moore Cooper, and of course Brighton, Illinois' Jason Isringhausen, all headed to the Hall of Fame. So 1 ball and 1 strike. Winker struck out first time up. Flaherty has struck out 2 and walked 1. There's Joey Votto on Scott Rowland.
He was very easily the best defensive player I've ever played with. And he was a fantastic base runner, and he did everything he could to make sure that his decisions fell in line with the team. And every day he came to play and wanted to play. And again, I played with him at the very back end of his career, and I wasn't lucky enough to see him in his physical prime. But the version I saw was just fantastic, and I feel really lucky to play with him.
And we were lucky to watch one of the great defenders ever in Scott Rowland. Alex Cintron and Hee-Sop Choi, a couple of collisions that affected his career in terms of sapping maybe some of the power because of shoulder.
Yeah.
But I've said it before. I don't know if you agree, Rick. If he doesn't get hurt, and remember he was swinging differently because of the shoulder issues that he had. It's not only the Cardinals Hall of Fame, it's Cooperstown, and it still may be.
Well, he certainly was on. It would have helped to have been injury free, no question, because even though he played after that, he just wasn't 162 games a year. Wasn't, again, a guy driving the ball the same way. He didn't have the full drive to his swing because he had to modify it. And so I think you're right. I think that certainly hurt his chances, but who knows?
17-year big league career, and a grounder that's taken there by Goldschmidt. He was something else at the hot corner, and truly one of the great players in St. Louis Cardinals history. The trade from Philly, signed an extension, and a world champion, Scott Rowland. Blues are on to the second round. That series tied 1-1. Stars and Blues Game 3 postgame show tomorrow following our Cardinals postgame from Washington. And good luck to the Blues as they head to Dallas. Since April 9th, Dexter Fowler an on-base percentage of .456, second best in the National League. That's behind Cody Bellinger. Little check swing and a foul ball, 2 strikes.
He's one of the few Cardinals that has meaningful number of at-bats against Sonny Gray, and enough to be kind of significant. He's 3 for 7 against the right-hander, so I think that should make him feel confident at the plate. Now they're giving him the entire, almost the entire left side of the infield.
And the 0-2. He looks like a different player.
He does. Even the way he took that pitch, with more balance, better vision, better timing.
And the 1-2 pitch.
It's interesting. That's something you can see from the mound. When a batter takes a pitch, there's sometimes you say, even if he takes it, you go, uh-oh. He was right on. I'm glad he took it. And now I'm a little more afraid to throw this next pitch. But if he's moving too much or pulling off, then you get a little edge and you get a little more info on how you might exploit that extra movement in the box.
He's gone to a lot of deep counts here in this resurgence, hitting above 300 for the first time since 2016 in June as a member of the Cubs. And taken low, a leadoff walk. He had a total of 52 hits last year, Dexter Fowler, in 90 games. He's played at 25 games this year, and he's got 23 hits.
You know, last year, Dan, I think there were times where I almost want to say, and this is too harsh maybe to say it, but almost as if he was hoping he could get a walk because hits were so much out of the equation. But this year, he's still working to get his walks, and they're coming. But if he needs to swing, that's working too. So, I mean, that's the value of Dexter Fowler when he's right, is that the on-base percentage is high. And that's why the Cardinals got him.
He's running like he did in the first year here in St. Louis. And I got to wonder if there were some foot issues there. I mean, he's had those in the past, special spikes to help out. But he's running way better than he did a year ago. And even in spring training at times, I think it's better now. He's back in safely.
And running, meaning also in the outfield.
And that's where I'm picking it up mostly.
Tom Hurt told us that yesterday in the interview, which was so great again to have him with us. But he said that's one thing that you can value on both the offensive and defensive side is speed.
Here's a 1-0. This is only the second start of the year for Jed Jerko. Did not break spring training with the club and then added. Just tell he's trying to get that timing down. Cardinals looking for their first hit of the afternoon as we play here in the home half of the third. A ball and a strike on Jerko.
There are times in the last couple of years where Jed Jerko would get a spot start and he would be hitting 4th or 5th.
That's right.
So it tells you a couple things. One is he's got a little slow start, but also the guys hitting 4th and 5th are doing pretty well right now. It's not a big need.
And the breaking pitch pulled foul. His only start was back on the 11th of April. That was a Thursday day game against the Dodgers in that 4-game sweep. Had an RBI and a base hit in that game. And the 1-2 pitch to Jed Jerko. Struck him out. And that's strikeout number 2 for Sonny Gray. Today, Fox Sports Midwest joins with Washington University and the Barnes Jewish Transplant Center to celebrate Donate Life Month and Transplant Awareness Day. Our broadcast team wearing lapel pins to raise awareness. Life-saving transplants. And before today's game, organ transplant recipients and their families were celebrated on the field.
And they're wearing the special hats that they got. It's part of that awareness, and appreciate them being here at the ballpark.
I didn't even realize it last year, but a friend of mine that works at Footwear Unlimited, a shoe company here in St. Louis, was on the field. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, well, I helped somebody through organ transplant. And
how about that?
Family's been affected, and amazing. Want to know the count on Flaherty. Milwaukee and New York, they're tied 2-2. Christian Yelich had to leave that game with lower back issues. Gets down the bunt, and Fowler to second base. Now a quick word from Great Southern Bank.
Bought enough food for the entire section? We understand. Great Southern Bank. We're fans too.
Mets, by the way, had a move today. They let go of Travis d'Arnaud. And remember when they made the deal, Mets traded R.A. Dickey to the Blue Jays. The number one piece that they wanted back was d'Arnaud and not Noah Syndergaard, which may surprise some folks. Here's Colton Wong. Devin Mesoraco, the former Red, is on the restricted list. He's under contract to report to Syracuse, but has not done so. And Brody Van Wagenen said Mesoraco has an open door to do so at any time.
Always some drama in New York.
And Darno was the starter last night. Restricted list. Maybe you can get a little bit into that for fans that don't quite understand it, but a team essentially is just not going to cut you loose and let you go wherever you want. They own his rights, if you will.
Yeah, if you're refusing to actually take an assignment, essentially, you can't just become a free agent and go somewhere else. Free agency is something that is earned by service time, or if a team absolutely releases you unconditionally. But if they don't want to release you, they want to option you, and you say, I don't want to go. The Cubs had a player do that a couple years ago. Didn't want to go to AAA, the only thing you can do at that point, if you're the team, even if you don't want to do it, even if you understand the frustration, et cetera, you still have to put them on the restricted list and just hold out that option for when they're willing and able.
I think Kevin Segrist had that issue with the Pirates too. Former Cardinal lefty. One ball, two strikes on Wong. Grounded into the shift first time up. And time called late. The offensive WAR, wins above replacement for Colton Wong, is 10th right now in the National League. When you couple that with what he does defensively, this is what the Cardinals expected when they gave him that long-term contract. That's fouled back.
I think he has evolved into a stance that works for him. I'm going to say not finally, because he's had great kind of stretches in his career and then stretches where he was just struggled and had long stretches. And his bat used to be more straight up in the air, and he would have his elbow higher and the bat straight up, and now it's flatter, and there's not as much movement to get the bat where he needs it to be. Every hitter essentially gets to the same spot, but where do you start from? What's your trigger? How are you loading up your power in the backside?
And the 1-2 pitch, and a swing and a miss, tied him up. 2 strikeouts in the inning, and 3 today for Sonny Gray. Well, Jim Hayes, it is a crowded outfield. There's Tyler O'Neill just behind Delino DeShields, first base coach. There's Harrison Bader and Jim Hayes. How's it all going to shake out?
It's a good question, Dan. You know, as a group, Cardinal outfielders are top 5 in the National League in average, home runs, RBIs, and OPS, with Bader and O'Neill back from the injured list. The trick is how to keep them all going. Mike Schilt told me it's actually a great problem to have. He told me we have 5 outfielders that are everyday caliber players. We always hope they want more, but they're team first guys willing to do whatever the team needs them to do. But Dan, right now, bit of a juggling act, and they're all playing pretty well.
Absolutely. And saw in the game yesterday when you had Fowler and teams would try to turn him around to the right side, and they bring in a lefty, and the Colton Wong, let's say he's down in the lineup. That's where a double switch comes in with Bader. Very good against left-handed pitching. One way to keep him sharp. 1-2 the count on Puig.
Well, with double switches, several bench players get a chance to play every day. Now, it may not be a full game, but it may be 3 or 4 innings, and you might get a couple of at-bats even as part of that double switch. So you show well, and then you get to play more. If you play well, you play more. It's just the way it works.
Here's a 1-2, and that may get more complicated years to come in the National League if the DH is added, and then it looks like all signs are pointing in that direction.
I'll have to go through my period of mourning over that, and then I'll be fine.
You'll adjust.
I'll adjust.
The 2-2. Gotta wonder how GMs and president of baseball operations would approach those types of situations with, let's say, an aging player in the National League, but signing him long term because he could serve as your DH. Something you have to think about, I would assume. There's a ground out to Jerko.
Well, if you're thinking about building a team, you're thinking about 2019. Every general manager does that. What kind of product can we put out there for our fans and compete based on what's going on in our division? What extra pieces do we need to sign or re-sign? In the case of Jose Martinez, the re-signing of him I thought was brilliant. But you're also thinking about next year, the year after, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and you've got every general manager and every development guy has a chart in his office, or maybe even a blackboard. I've seen it as a blackboard in the past where they're projecting their team 5 years from now.
Sure.
What's the rotation going to be in 5 years? And you don't know, but you're guessing, and you're planning towards. So when you plan towards 5 years, you say, "Wow, I can only project 3 guys in a rotation because I think this guy's going to be a reliever, and I'm not sure if this guy's going to compete at a high enough level, so we're going to have to go out and get more pitches." That's how you find out what you need to go and get. But if you don't know if you are in the DH world or not, that would make that projecting difficult.
The strikeout of Tucker Barnhart. You got to wonder if that was maybe part of the equation with an extension for Carpenter, the long-term deal for Paul Goldschmidt, those kind of things.
Even the Jose Martinez deal, which I still think is underrated in terms of its importance, because Jose can flat out hit.
There's Jose Iglesias, struck out swinging back in the second inning. And a strike. I thought you brought up a great point the other night when you mentioned the confidence that you give Martinez with that extension too.
After hearing all winter that he isn't part of the equation, after leading your team in batting the season before, it could be a little disheartening. He's human, but he's all smiles when you tell him, you know what, you're going to be around and you're going to be part of us for some time to come.
Bottom of the fourth rolls in when we come back after the fly out by Iglesias. Paul Goldschmidt due up first. Now time for T-Mobile's connection to the game. Christian Yelich ties the record for most home runs before April 1st with 14. Clayton Kershaw, first win of the season, defeats the Pirates. Vladimir Guerrero faced Brett Anderson of Oakland last night, who also pitched to his dad. And his dad has been in attendance for the first couple of games in Toronto. Anderson has been around since '09. They're showing off. It's a gun show down there.
Apparently.
Must have been hanging out with Ron Burgundy. One ball, one strike. Paul Goldschmidt hit one to the track in right center.
Sonny Gray has had a couple of games this year where he has just hit a wall. Everything's going great, and then boom, 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 boom. And of course, that's what the Cardinals are hoping for, as they haven't had a hit yet, batting in the fourth inning. Gray, I think, what a restart for him this year. You mentioned being kind of unhappy with the Yankees last year, but he's been reunited with his college pitching coach here in Cincinnati. Derek Johnson was the pitching coach at Vanderbilt, and he was a star pitcher at Vanderbilt, first round pick for the A's in 2011. Mentioned the All-Star year in 2015 where he was third in the Cy Young balloting. That's how good he was. So when I say regain his form, it's not that he's been bad, but he's got a lot of potential for a big upside for Cincinnati.
And the 2-2 pop foul.
And Dan, the other guy they're counting on in their rotation that they have not seen yet is Alex Wood.
Right.
He had a setback this week. Our Alex Reyes had a setback, as we talked about earlier, breaking the pinky finger on his left hand. But Alex Wood was throwing and had a recurrence of the back spasms that he was dealing with. So they thought he might be getting closer. But David Bell saying that, you know, they're just going to have to cool the jets on him a little bit too.
And the 2-2 spoiled. Alex Wood was with the Braves, and then the Dodgers came over in that big deal with Kemp and Puig. Goldschmidt 5th in home runs in the National League with 9, 6th in runs, 7th in total bases, and 3 game-winning RBI. Ooh, he got away with that one. Fans have asked me what's it like seeing Paul Goldschmidt every day, and it's great guy. I mean, he's been great with all of us in the media, but very businesslike.
Yeah.
Mentioned the other day how he's really enjoying St. Louis away from the field. He strikes out here, and that's strikeout number 4 for Sonny Gray.
I think Paul may have thought that pitch was going to be low. It had a little sink to it at 94, and that's about what Gray tops out at. And you know, it's interesting. He has what he calls a changeup, but it really isn't a changeup. It's a fastball that he throws just a little bit slower. It's about 4 miles an hour off. He just really throws a 2-seamer and just doesn't throw it hard. Doesn't have a classic changeup grip, and so it's maybe more like a BP fastball than a real changeup. But he'll get some outs with it. He just doesn't throw it a lot.
I think flying under the radar right now, even here locally, the start of Paul DeJong.
Yeah.
Great play that he made up the middle. And then what he's done at the plate right now, a 7-game hitting streak. And in that streak, 4 doubles, home runs, 6 runs scored. Flied to right his first time up, but batting behind Goldschmidt, such an important spot in this lineup.
No question.
And the 1-1. And it's extra bases again for Paul DeJong. It's been a doubles machine to start this year. And the Cardinals have their first hit of the afternoon.
That's his 12th double. He leads the team up among the league leaders. In fact, he's second coming into play today and gets another double. And that's the Cardinals' first hit. Maybe under the radar, Dan, because there have been so many other players off to good starts. You know, for a while it was Ozuna, and then, of course, it was Ozuna yesterday, and then Goldschmidt's had his moments. He and Yachty with the hit streaks, Fowler with the good. So kind of hard to make the star of the game show because there's a lot of guys hitting well in front of you and behind you.
Here's Ozuna, grounded to third, first time up. It's the second base runner the Cardinals have had today. His time is called. I mentioned this to you, I guess it was about a week ago. It was written about today by Jen Langosh, does a great job on Cardinals.com. Since the play in left, the play, Ozuna scaling the wall on a fly ball that was short, landed on the track. He has been on a tear. And I just wonder if he's one of those kind of guys that he gets the extra motivation. Look, you don't believe in me, or this is kind of an embarrassing moment for me. I'm going to show you how good I am.
Well, and I'm almost guessing by some of his comments, even the way he looked on the field during that play, which we'll just call it that play in quotes. And we'll move on. But I sensed a lot of more embarrassment than I'll show. And you know, I think he maybe resolved to say, I know I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. That's not who I want to be. And I think his defense has been better too since that play. But certainly the offense has been much better.
Here's a 1-0. 10 home runs, a single month high for Ozuna. Comes in third in the National League with 26 runs batted in. He's got 8 multi-RBI games at second most. I mean, he's done a lot. He's provided what the Cardinals wanted when they made the deal. And you got to also wonder just how healthy he is now, too. He's swinging the bat differently than we saw in spring and last year.
Hard contact, exit velocity, over 100 all the time.
He's in the top 5 of exit velocity average in all of baseball. 3-0, you know he's got the green light.
Who's going to blink first?
Marcell has become an exciting hitter to watch now here in St. Louis. He could strike at any moment. And he'll take the walk, almost as if they were pitching around him.
Well, I think you could tell by the reaction of Tucker Barnhart on the pitch that he caught for ball 4 when he pointed back to the pitcher as if that was the perfect pitch. Well, if it's ball 4, it's the perfect pitch. Yes, they were being very, very careful with Ozuna. And here's the indication of it. He sets up off the plate. The 3-0 or the 3-0 pitch hits his target, and he lets his pitcher know that he was happy with that last delivery.
Reminder, will be in Washington tomorrow, and that'll start a 4-game series coming up with the Nationals. Michael Wacha will return. Patrick Corbin, one of their big offseason signings, will go for the Nationals. Cardinals in that series will also get Scherzer and Strasburg. Here's Jose Martinez with 2 on. And ball 1.
And you saying those 3 starting pitchers is why I still contend that the Nationals are one of the teams to beat, if not the team to beat in the East.
Heck of a shortstop. Juan Soto coming back. Ryan Zimmerman, outstanding third baseman that they have.
Rendon.
Yep. And the 1-0.
And they've called up their top prospect too. Carter Kieboom has been called up, so we'll see if he becomes a quick difference maker.
And the 1-1.
Ooh. Pitch to hit. Sits up just a little bit, and the reaction of Martinez, you could tell he was on it.
Have you tried his coffee yet?
No, I haven't.
We're gonna have to get some.
Oh, I would love it.
We'll talk to him on the plane.
Okay.
Poppy, anything for you. That's what he'll say.
That's what, of course he will.
With a smile.
Yes, and he'll mean it.
There's a 1-2 pitch to Jose Martinez. 2-2. Hitting .422 in his last 12 starts. So kind of following up on what Jim reported with the outfielders. I mean, how do you sit right now? Jose Martinez, the way he's swinging the bat. Also driven in 8. Hit safely in 10 of the 12. Tough to sit that. As Jim reported, good problem to have.
And it's usually not a problem for too long.
The 2-2, base hit into right. Here comes DeYoung. The throw by Puig to third. Ozuna there. Jose Martinez makes it 1-0 St. Louis. What'd you say about Martinez?
I think I said he can hit.
He can hit.
And you know what? You don't have to be a genius analyst to come to say that. Just look at his numbers and watch him day in and day out hit the ball the other way. That's one of his specialties. They continue to shift and give him a lot of the right side of the infield. And pretty nice play, by the way, on that short hop by Suarez, because the pitcher was not backing up third. That throw by Puig, if he doesn't make that play, it's 2-0.
And now Yadier Molina, runners at the corners and 1 out. And again, the Cardinals going first to third. I mean, that is one of the best arms in right field, and you can understand why you'd be maybe a little skittish going first to third, but the Cardinals are being aggressive.
And part of it is reading the type of hit it is. If it's more towards the right field line and you know Puig has to go to his left, it's not as if he's going to have a perfect angle to make that throw.
0-2 on Molina. I love watching guys go first to third.
Me too.
And the Cardinals are doing that time and again. They've done it. It really stood out during this homestand more than ever.
Base running metrics up among the best in all of baseball. You know, Gary LaRocque was very proud in spring training to tell us that the Cardinals rank third in all of baseball in their minor league metrics. So they even do the metrics there to teach players to take those extra bases.
Molina out to right. This is Puig. Ozuna will tag up. The throw to the plate. It's not in time. Sliding in head first. Marcell Ozuna. Yachty brings him in. 2-0 Cardinals. Nice piece of hitting there by Molina.
And that ball carries deep enough in right field so Puig cannot fully get behind it to make the throw. Yachty gets enough of it to drive him back a little bit. He was trying to get behind it, but he caught it a little bit flat-footed and still throws a rocket to the plate. And that's twice Ozuna has run on Puig in this inning.
And here is Dexter Fowler. Shift on the right side. And Fowler goes the other way. Tough play. No play. Base hit Dexter. Hit him where they ain't.
I believe Wee Willie Keeler said that first, and it's still true. That was a long time ago when he said that. The Hall of Famer. And that's what he would do. He'd hit them where they ain't. Now the grammar might not have been
was perfect.
Terrific, but it communicates. I could just see Dan, a 10-year-old, coming up to his coach and saying, well, Dan McLaughlin told me on the Cardinal broadcast I need to hit them where they ain't.
And I hope that coach says he's right.
That's right.
Don't worry about the grammar. We're playing baseball. This will be pitch number 26 of the inning. And by the way, to follow up on Marcell Ozuna, really generated in many ways that run. First to third, then scoring, testing Puig. That's 9 runs scored during this homestand for Marcell. Not to be overlooked. Here's Jed Jerko. He's about due. And it's 2 balls and no strikes with Flaherty on deck.
I think it'd be fair to say Ozuna's just in general running faster this year and better. The Cardinals as a group are running more. Jose Martinez has a stolen base this year. Yachty's 1 for 1, but Ozuna's 3 for 3. And so the first to third, the taking extra bases, even stealing bases.
And pitching around Jerko here to get to Flaherty potentially and load him up. We'll see.
I never liked that when the open base is third base, because sometimes the pitcher will just kind of run into one, and even if he's a 140 hitter, now it means 2 runs.
And the 3-0 pitch now to Jerko, struck out back in the third. Hit up the middle, but into the shift. The Cardinals get a couple of RBIs. One from Martinez, the other by Yachty. 2-0. We head to inning number 5. Well, the Cardinals get their first hits of the ball game in the bottom of the 4th, and the first runs in this game. The BJC Healthcare difference maker.
Well, the Cardinals advancing at first to third via a base hit 25 times, the best record in all of baseball so far. The Mariners, of course, off to a good start. So are the Dodgers. They're right behind it. Well, I mean, maybe there's something telling about this. The teams that are doing it are winning. Talk about home runs. Do they matter? You bet they do. We'll take them. But you got to have a little balance in terms of at least being able to go first and third on a hit, get a sacrifice fly from a situational at bat like Yachty or Molina did and has done so many times in his career. And you've got a lead for your pitcher.
Now Scott Schebler. I also think in this day and age, Ricky, you've got to challenge outfielders. I mean, Puig has got an exceptional arm, and they still challenged him, and it paid off. Most do not have that arm or accuracy And that pitch is popped up on the infield and dropped. That cannot happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much communication is going on here, but clearly it's not enough. This is Paul DeYoung's ball, but you can see why Jerko thinks it's his too, because he was playing shallower. DeYoung had to come in a little more, so they both probably went the same distance to get it, but neither one of them did.
That'll be an error on DeYoung. And now it's Sonny Gray in a bunt situation here. Bunted in the air. Goldschmidt for the first out.
I think he was trying to push that ball to get a base hit, because he bunts this ball hard. He's trying to get that over the head, I think, of Goldschmidt, and didn't quite get there. Well, you'll take that out with one pitch, won't you?
Absolutely. It was the second error committed by the Cardinals today. That's their season high in a game. And here's Peraza. The problem is, barring a double play, Votto comes up. And there's a strike. So even at this level, mistakes made like that, routine pop up, and then they don't get the bunt down.
They talking yesterday, Dan, about the imperfections of the game. You start taking things for granted that everything's going to just work out just fine, and well, they're human beings. Umpiring the game, playing the game, managing the game, and dare I say, broadcasting the game.
I was just about to say that. Let's keep that last one to yourself. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jose Peraza. Fly to left. And the 1-1 pitch. Number 71 of the day. How about a double play ball? That's how you pitch around it. Double play. The Cardinals turn their second of the afternoon. 6-4-3. Flavors Puerto Rico Christmas in Paradise. That'll be May 23rd. River City Casino and Hotel. And you can sign up YadierMolina4.com. Section 334. The view from the camera, Phil Nichols. Will wind up being a 6-pitch inning for Jack Flaherty after the drop ball on the infield. And as you have always mentioned and told me during the break, once you induce the double play, then you get to lead off.
Again, it happens about 11% of the time.
And the 0-1 to Flaherty. Breaking ball misses.
But the double play has been key in this game. The Cardinals have 2, as you mentioned, but it's also been important that both Cardinal errors were erased quickly. And the involvement had to do with the guys that made the error in the first place. Wong made an error in the first and made a great play on the line drive by Barnhart to end that first inning. And then DeYoung, after making an error on just a routine pop-up in the infield, starts the double play.
And the 2-1 pitch. Fly ball into shallow right center. And there's one away. Reminder that Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals, and by St. Louis Children's Hospital and Washington University Physicians, guardians of childhood. Brings in Colton Wong, and then we'll see Paul Goldschmidt. So you shift on the infield, which the Reds have done that here. And Wong trying to bunt his way on, but that's a foul ball. In the outfield, the left fielder very shallow, but essentially they're straight away.
Well, I thought Jim Edmonds made a great point in the Milwaukee series, and I thought Milwaukee had issues with how they were lining their outfield defense behind their shifting infield. And what they were doing is opening up holes that the outfielders couldn't cover. So Goldschmidt had a ground ball right to the shortstop who wasn't there. And it went into a gap in the outfield because they opened up that gap behind where the shortstop would be, and it turns into a double. And I just think you can't have it all with the shift. You can't shift the outfield exactly where you want them in the infield because you may be opening up a hole that's creating a double opportunity or a triple opportunity.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Hit out of play.
Something that, again, it seems like we mention Jose Oquendo all the time on the telecast because of his influence, but that's something he would talk about when the shift was first coming into being. He was saying that's something they were working hard to try to figure out how to make sure they weren't solving one problem and creating two.
Sure. Wong today grounded into the shift and also struck out. And the 1-2 pitch. A lot of talk about limiting shifts potentially next year, the year after that, but it's here to stay in some form or fashion.
I don't think they'll limit them. I think in 5 years players will be better at finding holes and they'll lessen the number of shifts.
What's happening now in the minor leagues?
Yeah, I think they're going to be taught to, Tommy Hurt telling us yesterday. I mean, there were 8 guys in the Cardinals lineup in the 80s that could hit the ball wherever they needed to hit it.
Right.
But that spray chart's going to tell you, well, there's some tendencies, and we don't think they're capable of hitting it in the other place.
It's StatCast AI powered by AWS. And the 2-2. Wong pulls it to Joey Votto. And he steps on the bag for the out. And my point is, too, the minor leagues, if you're facing the shift, learn to battle against it as a hitter.
Yeah. Well, the Cardinals have done it in this series, bunting a couple of times.
That guy right there on the left has seen the most shifts of anybody in baseball. It's Matt Carpenter and then Willie McGee there on the right. Here's Goldschmidt, who hit one to the track in right center and was called out on strikes back in the 4th. And a curveball in there for strike 1. Mets in the bottom of the 8th, a 3-2 lead over Milwaukee.
How about the Minnesota Twins? They're leading Baltimore again today. They're one of the hottest teams in the game. Didn't see that coming.
Juan Soto, Victor Robles, another young star for the Nationals, Carter Keyboon, all have homered today. 3 different players, 21 years of age or younger, all homer in the same game. Hasn't been done since 1908. The check swing did not go. They're tied 6-6 with the Padres. We'll see the Nationals tomorrow.
1908. Wasn't that the Black Sox year? I believe it was. Or was that the year the Cubs won the World Series?
Cubs.
That's what I knew. 1908 rung a bell for some reason.
Cubs beat the Tigers in 1908 and then won 2016. 3-2 the count on the Cardinal first baseman Paul Goldschmidt.
And the Black Sox scandal was in 1919.
And the 3-2 spoiled. when you were playing, Ricky, and there's a 3-2 pitch to Paul Goldschmidt, how many times did you see with nobody on an off-speed pitch on 3-2? And I don't care if it was Jack Clark or Willie McGee.
Well, I mean, I think some pitchers would do that because that was their best option.
Mm-hmm. Pulled foul.
And I think it's, you know, you got to go really with your strength. When you get to 3-2, if you're throwing your third best pitch because of your fear of the other hitter, no matter who he is, you'd rather throw your best pitch. If it's a sinker, it's a sinker, but throw a good one, and throw one that's just on a corner. And if you miss, you miss.
3-2 again. And he struck him out. No argument from Goldschmidt. Now it is. Didn't like it. Strikeout for Sonny Gray. All right, Scotty, thank you. 6th inning rolls in. It'll be Votto, Suarez, and Winker. And the first pitch, a tight slider in there for a strike. Joey Votto has reached on an error and also singled to right.
17 of 19 first pitch strikes here this afternoon for Jack Flaherty. And I'm sure he's as happy. I mean, the Reds are happy to have Votto leading off, but the Cardinals are happy to have Votto leading off innings as well.
Here's an 0-2 pitch to Joey Votto. Swing and a miss. Held on to by Molina. And the strikeout number 4 for Flaherty. Kia drive to success. Jack Flaherty this season against Milwaukee. They got to him. 6 home runs allowed, but everybody else 220 average, and the 1 homer allowed by the Cardinal right-hander. There's Suarez. And strike 1. Sonny Gray on the flip side has been around 45% first pitch strikes today.
The league average is around 60, and his average coming into this game was 50.
Lined into center for a base hit. First hit allowed by Flaherty since back in the 3rd. It's been well pitched really on both sides.
It really has.
Flaherty went at least 6 innings in 11 of 28 starts last year. He's gone 6 innings twice in his 6 starts this season.
Pitch count really low enough for both pitchers. Gray does have 90 through 5 because of that long 4th inning, but he could go 6, and certainly Flaherty has a chance to go 7.
He's had a couple of double plays behind him that have helped out. There was a 6-pitch inning after the error in the 5th inning, and that'll keep you in the ball games. 24-pitch first inning. Part of that was the 9-pitch plate appearance by Puig that resulted in a walk.
So if you were to ask a pitcher, I'd be interested to ask some guys, maybe Jordan Hicks, is the best, what's the best inning that you could have as a pitcher? Is it a 3-pitch inning or a 9-pitch inning where you strike out 3 guys on 9 pitches, or when you get 3 ground ball outs? Which is better?
I'd have to ask Josh Hader about it. He did that against the Cardinals. 9-pitch inning and 3 strikeouts.
Of course, all pitchers would take both. But which is better?
The efficiency of the 3 pitches.
Certainly for a starter it is. There are times a reliever needs to be able to get some swings and misses and strikeouts. And Hicks, as he's developed a 90-mile-an-hour changeup now to go along with the hard slider and the high octane fastball. He has got all kinds of weapons to get those swings and misses.
Here's a 2-1 to Winker. We were talking with Mike in his office today about the Cardinal closer, and he said give him a lot of credit because fans won't see it, you don't see it, but the work that he puts in terms of his preparation and how strong he is.
Yep.
And just getting better and better. You mentioned it too, how he's changed where his hands are in that delivery, which has been beneficial. And Mike confirmed that. 2-2. Pulled to Goldschmidt, and now a rundown. That's one out, and that's two. It's a double play with Suarez going out of the baseline between first and second. The Cardinals have turned 3 double plays. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. 4 games coming up with the Nationals and then 3 with Chicago. Our first visit to Wrigley Field. Our Budweiser What's on Tap. Always fun.
Oh, you bet. That's one of the great things, Dan, about what we do, getting to go to the great cities of the National League and in interleague play and visiting new places from time to time. Getting a chance to go back to Seattle in 2019. That'll be a lot of fun. The Reds go to their bullpen. The 90 pitches, I guess that's enough for Sonny Gray. So former starter and top draft choice Robert Stevenson will have the Cardinals middle of the order in the bottom of the 6th.
Paul DeJong is 1 for 2. He doubled and scored back in inning number 4. Got a rally going for St. Louis. That was the first hit against Sonny Gray, that double in the 4th inning. The walk then by Ozuna. Martinez a base hit. Sac fly by Molina. And that's your scoring. 3 hits aside. Both teams have left 3 on. First pitch to Paul DeJong.
You know, when your bullpen is doing a nice job, Dan, I think managers are much more apt to just make a lot of phone calls down there and do them early. And when you're in doubt, and maybe he was in doubt, David Bell, about Sonny Gray today. It's a cool day. You wouldn't think he'd be tired. He really hasn't struggled much, given up a couple runs. 90 pitches. You know, he could have gone the 6th, but the bullpen's been good enough. Why not?
0-2 the count. Reds will go to New York to face the Mets coming up. DeJong here, then Ozuna and Martinez. Cardinals have turned 3 double plays in this game. That matches their season high. That's one of the things that John Mozeliak in that luncheon today pointed to. He said something you don't really talk about, but certainly we notice. I'm sure some fans do as well. And Goldschmidt paid to be a top hitter. That's lifted in the air to left center, and the catch is made. But he said Paul is really, because of his presence and how good he is defensively, just settled everything down, not only at first base but everybody else on the infield.
I've had the thought over the last week, when you start thinking about players that may be indispensable. And for years we've had this conversation, and the answer was always Yachty. Very simply, Yachty, because he's so important to the pitching staff and he's so important defensively and his offense. And you just, boy, you can't win without, if anybody's going to be gone or out, you don't want it to be him. Well, I'm not so sure DeJong's not in that conversation now, because the Cardinals, Dan, do not really have a prototypical shortstop other than him.
They've got in the minor leagues Edmundo Sosa, very good defender, and they've got Tommy Edman.
And they have Urias as well,
right.
Guys that can play the middle infield, but they're there. I mean, I'm talking about here at the big league level at the moment. It would be a challenge for them.
Agreed. Nothing in 2 the count on Marcell Ozuna. Walked and scored and grounded out. Sosa is batting, by the way, .350 right now at AAA, and a couple of home runs.
Tommy Edman just behind him.
A ground ball that's hit to short. Ozuna retired. So Stevenson has gotten the first two here in the home half of the 6th inning. Mother's Day, take home that bag. It's got the STL metal logo, alternate blue lining. It's May 12th. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Bring mom to the game. Jose Martinez, the single to right. Picked up an RBI, his 12th of the year. Stevenson last pitched against the Braves back on the 24th. Win an inning, couple of walks. And the 1-0 pitch to Jose Martinez. 2 balls and no strikes. Nobody throwing in the Cardinals pen, so you'll have Flaherty in the 7th more than likely. Only at 81 the pitch total so far. Big gap in left center. The 2-0.
Stevenson, like the pitcher he is replaced today, both first-round picks in 2011.
And Martinez, extra bases. Down into the left field corner. And a 2-out double. And it's another 2-hit day. Jose Martinez.
I think we mentioned he can hit. The base hit went to right. The double goes to left. I think he's one of the last guys you really want to put a shift on against, because I think he does use all fields. Depends on what the pitch is, where it is, what he does with it.
Yachty had a sac fly back in the 4th inning. That made it 2-0. Came on an 0-2 pitch. And that sac fly was number 67 of his career. And that ties Ted Simmons for second most by a Cardinal. It was Benji Molina on the right, Polo Asensio there on the left. The Spanish broadcast happening again today. And the 0-1.
I'm going to guess they have monitors in their booth. What do you think?
Not a chance.
They know when we're looking at them, don't they? And they, you know what? Love those guys. Both of them. Terrific. Fun to be around.
Polo called it a dream come true when we went down to Mexico to face the Reds. He's from Tijuana. He said, I can't believe I'm doing Major League Baseball and having a chance to do it in Mexico. And the 0-2 pitch to Molina. Little chopper hit towards short. And the inning is over. Polo and Benji on the Spanish radio broadcast.
Starter here this afternoon. Jack Flaherty has been outstanding through 6. 81 pitches. And he has controlled this game and has gotten double plays when he needed it. And he's made the right pitch when he needs it. Flaherty hopes to go deep into this game, even handled Joey Votto with a pitch up in the zone, and exactly what the Cardinals need. Just 1 walk and 4 strikeouts for the 23-year-old right-hander Jack Flaherty.
Scoring change for those of you keeping score at home, and I know there's many. The pop-up that was ruled an error on shortstop Paul DeYoung now changed to an error on Jerko. And here's Yasiel Puig, looks at ball 1, underway here in the 7th. 9-pitch at bat in the first, and then grounded out to third in inning number 4. Jam. Slowly hit. Goldschmidt takes it himself. 1 away. Lots of reasons to catch a Cardinals game. Even more reasons to score your tickets at StubHub. StubHub has the best selection of 100% MLB verified tickets available even after the first pitch. StubHub, official partner of the Cardinals. That's the second time that Puig has had that odd swing.
Well, he started to swing at sliders and they turned it into fastballs, and he's been late on fastballs that he thought would be sliders. He's just not recognizing Flaherty's difference with those 2 pitches, and he disguises it well. I will say that for Jack.
And a base hit into center. One of the key plays in the game, that's Barnhart now at first, was Barnhart lining out to end the first. That great play by Colton Wong.
You never know how that influences a game going forward. You say, well, okay, which would have just been 2-1. Well, maybe. I mean, things might have happened differently. That wouldn't have been the last out. Maybe Iglesias does something different with runners aboard. Barnhart, by the way, just broke an 0 for 14 with that base hit.
Well, the Cardinals have turned 3 double plays, looking for number 4. And they've got activity now, St. Louis, with one of the lefties up. It's Tyler Webb, it looks like, or is that Miller? Yep, that's Miller. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Flaherty is due up third for the Cardinals, the bottom of the 7th. John Brebbia will join Miller. Left-hander throwing, Wandy Peralta in the Reds bullpen. 1 ball and 1 strike on Iglesias. 0 for 2.
Really don't have time to breathe as a manager, do you? You know, things are rolling right along for Jack Flaherty, but in 2 or 3 batters, things could change negatively. It just could happen. So you're always managing and thinking, what if, what if? David Bell's thinking the same thing. What if? Who do I have up? If we have the lead, don't have the lead.
Ground ball. Softly hit. Jerko out there. The stretch by Wong, and they get the lead runner. Took a chance and it paid off.
Well, that's a gutsy play. Most times you're just going to do the default and just get the runner at first base. But Jerko trusted his arm and trusted Colton Wong to make the play on the other end, and the stretch becomes a first baseman because he knows he has no chance at getting 2.
It brings in Schebler.
Several good, smart, heady decisions defensively for Colton Wong in 2019. He's just doing everything right to me.
It's popped up. Yachty over and with room to make the catch. 8-pitch inning for Flaherty. He's through 7. Time to stretch. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Wandy Peralta, Ricky, one of their lefties, and they've got 3 of them in their bullpen, and he will pitch the bottom of the 7th.
Really came on strong last year. I talked to several of the Reds broadcasters last year about Peralta. They said he made the most strides from the year before to make himself better. They felt like he just keeps improving and improving. His numbers are good so far this year. Nice to have 3 left-handers, as you mentioned, in your bullpen.
Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. With Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin here in the booth. Jim Hayes is somewhere.
No, that's mysterious.
Well, you know, Jimmy just sometimes appears up here in the booth. Sometimes he's up in the press box. He loves to mingle with the fans.
Man of the people. That's
yes,
number,
he is.
That's number one.
Mike Schill was telling us that in his office today.
He was.
Jimmy is a man of the people is the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's what he said.
0-2 on Fowler. This has been the lesser side for Dexter. His last home run from this side of the plate, you may recall the grand slam that he hit interleague play last year against the White Sox. And then right after that got hurt when we were in Pittsburgh. And the 1-2. Fowler has been on base twice with a walk and an infield hit. Puts it in play to short, gloved. Nice play.
He's good.
Nurses Appreciation returns in 2019, a day and night option for everyone working shifts. Day game May 8th, night game on the 9th. Either way, purchase of a theme ticket, you'll get the exclusive Cardinals scrub top. And a portion of each ticket sold will be donated to March of Dimes. Here's Jed Jerko, 0 for 2 today.
We wondered whether there was any thought of having Jack Flaherty go back out for the 8th inning. The Reds are at 8-9-1 in their lineup, and Miller's been loose. Brebbia's been throwing. But Tyler O'Neill is in the on-deck circle, so that question, I believe, has been answered. So very good start for Jack Flaherty. Nothing but zeros in 7 innings of work.
Just missed.
Just missed the heart of the plate.
Attendance today 45,701. 45701. Gets a new life. Let's see what he does with it. Fouled it back. Reds bullpen second in the National League, third in baseball, collective ERA of 3.35, leading the way San Francisco, then Houston, then the Reds. As Sonny Gray went 5 today. Stevenson scoreless 6th, and now Peralta here in the 7th. The 2-2 hit down the right field line and out of play. Out of play again. And the 2-2. Remember, Peralta was in the rotation a few years ago and found a home now out of their pen. The 3-2 pitch to Jerko and struck him out. Second time the Jet has struck out today.
He's got a plus changeup, and he's not afraid to throw it. even with a full count, and just died down and away from Jerko. Probably should have struck him out earlier in the at bat anyway, so he got justice, I guess.
So here's Tyler O'Neill, the pinch hitter for St. Louis. And Flaherty's day indeed is done. Strike one. Fine line of developing young talent, and if they're going to stay here and not be in the starting lineup, keep developing, and then also the idea of just trying to keep them sharp.
You can develop and stay sharp partially by doing a lot of extra work. Simulate game situations as much as possible, but it's not the same.
Quick pitched him that time. Strikeout of O'Neill. The Cardinals collectively with 7 strikeouts in their lineup. All right, Rick. Cardinals turn it over to our Chevy call to the pen, and the right-hander John Brebbia. Also, it's Bader in center and Fowler moving to right.
Boy, what a good start he's had, Brebbia, to 2019. Cardinals again going with the plus defense, the best defense. You start thinking defense when you have a 2-run lead with 2 innings to go. And as Brad and Scotty said, the Cardinals bullpen has been a strong part of this team and a strong part of their start. Cardinals playing over 600 baseball, and Brebbia is part of that reason. Hyundai pitch arsenal, fastball, slider, occasional changeup, but don't see too many of those. He is just hard fastball and hard slider.
So
and
here
he's
is
a strike thrower too, Dan.
Yes. Dietrich has got some power coming off the bench today. 5 home runs in 25 games. And the 0-1 pitch. Line on Flaherty, 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and struck out 4.
And just 89 pitches in 7 innings. That's a great ratio.
That total included 24 in the first inning. 1-2 the count on Dietrich. Jerko way off the line at third. And that misses to make it 2-2. And he struck him out looking.
Well, I don't know if Brebbia did it on purpose, but I thought he telegraphed the breaking pitch before and threw it off the plate. And this one he disguised better, and I think that fooled Dietrich. I think he was thinking that was fastball and the late break. Now that'd be really tricky if you telegraph, you tip a pitch on purpose to set up the next pitch. Is that what we've come to?
Maybe so. A 1 pitch to Peraza, make it 0-2.
In the telegraphing that I saw, he slowed down his delivery. I'm talking about the pitch prior. Kind of wasted it away, but he just slowed down and then just flipped it up on the outer half. But very different delivery on the called strike 3.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Peraza is fly to left and also grounded into a 6-4-3 double play. Cardinals have turned 3 today. And the 1-2 inside. David Hernandez throwing in the Reds bullpen. Little flare, shallow center, and it drops in right between Ozuna and Bader and DeYoung. A reminder that St. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And find your Steel dealer at steeldealers.com. So that'll be it for Brebbia. Andrew Miller to face one of the game's best, Joey Votto. Only a 2-run lead, tying run coming to the plate. May 10th, add to your bobblehead collection. It's a double bobblehead, and it's got Yadier Molina and Roberto Clemente. That day, 30,000 fans 16 and older take home that bobblehead, and it commemorates two of the best humanitarians in the game. Coca-Cola and Walmart bringing you that, and that young man can't bear to watch with Votto up representing the tying run. And the first pitch, a strike. Miller struck out Votto and Puig yesterday's 5th hold. He's actually stranded 5 of 6 inherited runners. And 13 of the last 20 outs he's recorded come via the strikeout. You had an interesting conversation with Mike Schilt about mechanics delivery of Miller.
Yeah, well, and the point I've been making is I just think it's a little bit hard for somebody to help him with the command that he's trying to master, because he has a very unique style, and he's trying to get that slider to be on the plate and not staying inside as that one did, or sweeping off the plate. And honestly, it's just a matter of feel at that point. That's really what Mike was talking about. For Mike Maddox and for Brian Eversgerd to say, well, your hand's just a 1/4 of an inch, you can't do that. It's just feel. And plus, he's a veteran, as Mike Schilt told us. And veteran, we just figure is going to be able to work it out.
2-2. Good late action on this pitch. It's like a frisbee.
Pretty sharp breaking frisbee.
Woo. And he finished him off here, the 2-2. Jordan Hicks getting loose in the pen. 3-2 the count. Runner at first in a 2-run ball game. It's a big pitch right here. And Votto hits a fly ball to Ozuna.
So it's a key at bat in this game for Trevor Miller, and you've got one of the game's best, and you throw him the perfect slider down and away. That really sets everything else up. It got him thinking about what comes next. Missed inside with the slider, and again the sweeping slider across the plate. Hung a little bit. Tried to get it with the fastball out over the plate, and then eventually did at 92. And good job by Andrew Miller. He got his man.
Hicks will come on and try to get the final 4 outs.
Chevy call to the bullpen is the Cardinals closer Jordan Hicks, who's looking for save number 9. Game number 12 on the season for Hicks. Hasn't thrown many pitches over the last week, so he's being asked here, Dan, to get not just 3 outs but 4 as he enters the game here in the 8th inning with the tying run at the plate.
And here is Suarez. So it's back-to-back games for Miller. This will be back-to-back games for Hicks. Now you're worried about today. It's only a 2-run lead, but you got to wonder about tomorrow.
But only 18 pitches thrown in the last week. I think we'll see how well he does. I mean, Dominic Leone unfortunately had that disastrous inning for him in this series, and it was meant to be a 10 to 12 pitch inning, and ended up being 32 or more. So you just hope Hicks can do it economically here.
And the 1-1 to Suarez. Tap foul. Triple digits by Jordan Hicks. Suarez is 1 for 3 with a single to center. Ground into a double play and also fly to center. Hicks has finished off 10 of 11 games he's appeared in. Second in the National League. In saves, he's got 8. And the 1-2. Kirby Yates, by the way, of San Diego with 13 to lead the National League. Jordan came in with 66 pitches, triple digits or better. And the 1-2 pitch to Suarez. Ricky, you were talking about the setup of Jordan Hicks when he comes set and where he's holding his hands, and you being a former major leaguer, former coach, pro ball. What is that doing for Jordan Hicks?
Well, I thought he was just more together in his delivery. He's also changed where he is in the rubber, but having his hands lower, I think that's just given his slider a better chance to do its work.
Like that.
Like that. Mike Schultz said he's just more connected.
Strikes out Suarez. We move to the bottom of the 8th. Home half of the 8th rolls in as we wrap up the homestand on this Sunday afternoon. Chilly, but beautiful day. Jose Martinez, Nissan drive of the game, going the other way.
And he does that so well. Takes it the other way. It gets the Cardinals on the board. And of course, Martinez also added a double later in the game. The man can flat out swing the bat.
David Hernandez, right-hander in. And the 4th pitcher today for Cincinnati, Chevy called to the pen, top of the lineup for St. Louis. And a strike to Colton Wong. He's in the leadoff position today in the lineup. Matt Carpenter with the day off. Grounded into the shift. Also grounded to first and struck out. Derek Dietrich staying in the game for Cincinnati at third base. So Hernandez goes into the 2nd position in the lineup for Cincinnati. They'll have Winker, Puig, and Barnhart in the 9th. 2 strikes on Wong. It's been well pitched today. Total of 9 hits. Reds have out hit the Cardinals 5-4. Cardinals commit a couple of errors, but the oddity of it does not come back to bite them. As Wong sends a high fly ball into shallow right center. Battling the sun, Schebler almost hit him on top of the head. And Wong, he'll take the double.
Well, he didn't even know which way to turn. He knew he lost it, but I think you're right. It came very close to hitting him on top of the head. He was just lost. Where is it? I can't. Help me, where is it? And you just duck. And Colton Wong thought he was out there, but was at least running enough to get to second base. That's the key. He couldn't have gone any further anyway.
And Colton Wong now with that double. Reach base safely in 15 straight. The sun shining brightly here on this Sunday afternoon.
Well, Schebler had his glasses, so you give him credit for that. Some players that don't have them and aren't prepared for that, you can be critical of that. But Schebler just went in the wrong spot for him. He's still looking up at the sun.
Here's Goldschmidt, hitless today. Twice he was called out on strikes. Also flied out to deep right center. And he pulls it foul. 0-2.
You know, when you play in a sun field, Dan, or you're playing in a day game, the outfielders have to check, not just look where they're standing, but what if a ball's hit to their left, to their right, behind them, in front of them? How might the sun impact them? And that's That's part of the experience of being comfortable at a particular field, knowing how the sun will come into play. That ball was hit to his left, so he was looking back from the left, which is different than if he was kind of looking in the other direction or over his head or in front of him. And I think just that perfect angle to coincide with where the sun was, and just almost a disaster. Well, was kind of a disaster for the Reds.
Goldschmidt with a fly ball out to left. Wong to the bag at second, and he'll draw the throw. There's DeYoung, who doubled into the left field corner. You can see the left fielder today for the Reds tipping his cap to the bullpen as they were helping him out, saying, hey, he's tagging up. And he was in a position to make the throw.
Even the bullpen has a job to do. Other than just tell stories.
Pick on each other. Stare at fans.
Eat sunflower seeds.
Act like they're doing something.
And in the case of an entire season in a Cardinal bullpen, play password.
Oh, is that right?
That's what we did in 1987.
A strike on DeYoung. I'm going to assume that you were better than most.
Well, I don't really remember. I just know we had fun, and it was Bill Dawley's idea, and he was Alan Ludden, and he would come up with, and the word is. And we had partners, and I'm sure we had records and all kinds of things going on. I just don't recall. Dave Ricketts would just roll his eyes at us and say nothing.
God rest his soul.
Yes.
1 ball, 1 strike on DeYoung. With 1 out, and Wong, good speed at second base. Willie will tell you that Dave Ricketts was instrumental in his career. Came from the Yankees. And I said to Willie one night, the unconventional style of hitting, and he started laughing. And he said everybody was watching him hit and trying to correct him, and Dave Ricketts said, get away. And a strikeout of DeYoung. Let the man play the game the way he wants to play, and until he shows us differently, leave him alone.
Well, when someone is unconventional, you kind of have to understand that they got there by being that way. And I think that's the point we were making about Andrew Miller too, in his delivery. It's a little different. It's not right over the top. He's kind of a slinger, just kind of 3/4, and so it works.
It's a second walk handed to Ozuna. This one intentional, and they'll deal with Bader. Watching the at bat there with Paul DeYoung, you can see Hernandez has a pretty good slider working on that outer half, and you can anticipate a diet of those if you're Harrison Bader, I'm sure, as the Reds will go with the righty-righty matchup. So runners at first and second. Bader came through yesterday off the bench with a base hit into right. That picked up a run and snapped an 0 for 14. It's that pitch right there.
There it is. Well, you mentioned it earlier. The Cardinals were able to pick up, usually through the pitcher, a couple of miscues early in the game. We'll see if the Reds can do that on a play that should have been made in center. Hernandez should be out of this inning, but the Cardinals can make it hurt.
Here's a 1-0. Again, the slider outside, 2-0. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Schebler's got a good arm in center, but Winker's got the 3 outfield assists. His arm's not quite as strong as the guy in right, Puig, but that may come into play here. Base hit with 2 outs. They're playing shallow enough with Bader at the plate that they could have a shot at Wong.
That's what we saw yesterday. It was a base hit to right. Fowler would score. The hit by Bader, and Fowler had to wait to make sure the ball got down, so it wound up being just a 1 hopper to Puig, and he came around to score. So 3-1 with Molina on deck. Let's see what Harrison Bader can do.
Should get a fastball here.
Out of play. Does he get another one?
No. I believe he's going to get that slider here. That's Hernandez's pitch.
And the 3-2 pitch taken low and outside. Good at bat. And they're all loaded up for Yadier Molina. Yadi with the sac fly. The RBI. His 17th back in the 4th. He's also struck out, grounded out. And he could bust open this ball game here
with a 14-game hitting streak on the line. He's already done some damage offensively, as you mentioned, with the sacrifice fly, but about another hit to keep the streak going.
2 outs, all loaded up for Molina. First pitch up the middle, base hit. 2 runs will score. Yadi comes through with the bases loaded and 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th. And it's 4-0 St. Louis, and the hitting streak keeps on going.
A 15-game hitting streak for Yadi. Our key to the game was to ride the hot hand. Yadi has been the hot hand. That pitch off the plate even. Looked slider, took it up the middle. And Yadi continues to produce against the Cincinnati Reds.
So he's driven in 3 of the 4. And now it's Fowler. He's been on base twice with a walk and an infield hit.
What a different feel. 4-0 than 2-0.
Which I think it does bring up the point. If Fowler can drive in a run, you got a 5-run lead. Do you think about sitting Hicks?
There's a number. I'm not sure what that number is. I'm not sure it's 4. If it's 6, yes. 5, I flip a coin.
And Fowler will have a decision coming up. Pulls it inside the first base line. A run will score. That's Bader and Dexter to second base. And he's tagged out as he rounded the bag at second. A run scores to make it a 5-0 Cardinal lead. Fowler making the case that he's safe at second base.
Well, I'm getting my coin out to see who's going to pitch the 9th, but here's Fowler rounding the base, and he says he's stepping back on the bag, and Iglesias dives and tags him, and they call Fowler out. We can't tell whether his toe is hitting the bag or not. Fowler said his toe was on the bag, so we'll see if they have a better view than we could see on that replay or live, Dan, because it's on the back side, the outfield side of the second base bag.
He looked to be safe going back, and then when the tag was there, did the foot come off the bag, which then Fowler could say, well, I was taken off the bag by Iglesias, and the toe may not have been touching the bag. Either way, what an odd play.
I'd like to see when he actually tags him too, because he kind of missed him at first. mean, he doesn't really get him right at the beginning of the tag. He got him on the foot later. Boy, that is an odd looking play.
The benefit of this, if you're Mike Schilt, and if 5 was that number that you were talking about, it gives your bullpen plenty of time to get loose and come in the game.
Well, there's the dive by Iglesias, the shortstop, and he misses him. Doesn't get him yet. Now he's tagged him. Where's the foot of Fowler? Is it on the base? On the right, you can't tell. On the left, you can hardly tell. And I almost think it'd be hard to overturn it either way, because I just don't know that there's the possibility of getting a great look of just whether or not his foot is touching the bag or not.
And where is Dexter going there on that play too? Either way, odd play all the way around.
I didn't even think he was that far off the base for Iglesias to even be diving at him to try to get him. I thought, what's he doing? Well, he's the almost Gold Glover, not me, so I guess he knew what he was doing.
So Molina in this inning has extended his hitting streak to 15. They're going to call him out. Take a look at our Budweiser player of the game. Today's starter for the Cardinals, Jack Flaherty.
Outstanding start for Jack. The Cardinals have needed starters to get deeper in the game, and that's exactly what he did. 7 innings of work, just 4 hits. Really not a lot of hard hit balls off of Flaherty. And the double plays certainly helped him, but only allowing 1 walk, also a big deal. And I like Jack Flaherty having a mastery of a game where he only has 4 strikeouts. You don't always have to get double digits to dominate. Dominic Leone will have the 9th inning, so the flip of the coin turned up reliever. With Jordan Hicks getting the final out in the 8th inning, your closer removed from the game because the lead is now 5. So save him for another day.
And you know that Leone is dying to get back out there after the last appearance that he had. It was 2/3 of an inning Friday in that dominating win by the Reds. So Dominic Leone, he'll go into the 9 position in the Cardinal lineup, and hopefully that position will not come back up. 1 ball, 1 strike on Winker.
It's funny, Dan. I said if it was 4 innings, I would leave 4 runs. I'd leave Hicks in. If it was 6, I'd take him out. 5, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that was the kind of the flip a coin part in Mike Schilt. I like what he's doing here. I think he's trusting the rest of his relievers to finish this game off in some way.
And a base hit into right center. Extra bases, the throw cut off, and Winker in with a double.
And after DeYoung tagged out Winker at second base, they want our second base umpire John Tumpane to call him out too. Didn't happen. Here's the slide, kind of an awkward slide really, into the bag, and pops off the base a little bit. And yeah, I think he's safe.
That one we'll go with. Here's Puig, 0 for 2 with a walk today. It was 34 pitches, by the way, for Dominic Leone on Friday night. I would also say this, that, you know, if you're Mike Schilt, 34 pitches, day off yesterday, you come back today, you got to be careful on how much he throws today. So if there's any issues, get him out.
He is being backed up by John Gant just in case things go sour.
And it's popped up. It'll be Wong with the catch. Puig hitless today.
We talked about this the other day. Colton Wong wants every pop-up, doesn't he? I mean, he's good at them. There's no question. I mean, Goldschmidt could have handled that one, but Colton is so comfortable making those plays. So
Barnhart is lined out, struck out, and singled.
The Colton Wong double, which should have been a fly out to center, opened the gates for a 3-run inning.
Off the end of the bat, shallow left. Ozuna with the catch. Throw back to the bag at second. And the runner in safely. That's Winker, and there's 2 away.
Good jump by Ozuna on this one. He's on the move right away and makes the play.
I think the point you're about to make is the Cardinals capitalized on the mistakes and the Reds did not today.
And with the base hit to lead off this inning, you're talking about a 1-run game. I mean, it'd be a very different situation.
Here's Iglesias. And the Cardinals trying to make this truly a winning homestand, win every series. 2 out of 3 over the Mets. Sweep of the Brewers. Try to make it 2 of 3 here against the Reds. And the 1-0 pitch by Dominic Leone. Popped up to the right side and out of play. We have had big crowds here the entire homestand, and again today with 44,000 plus. And the Cardinals trying to go to 12-4 here at Busch to start the year.
What a boost this is to Dominic Leone to have your manager get you right back up on the horse. What does that say to Leone? About confidence. I belong. I'm important to this team. You trust me.
And the 1-1. And a base hit into right field. That's Fowler. They'll hold the runner though at third. Throw goes into second base and runners at the corners. Not taking any chances of making the final out of the ball game at the plate. And Fowler looked to be content on going to second base and allowing the run to score.
Yeah, I don't think you can score him there because you can't take the chance. And I think Fowler may have seen out of the corner of his eyes them actually holding up their runner at third, which may have influenced why he threw the ball into second.
The lead holds 5-0. This would be the 4th time the Reds have been shut out this year. 1 out away though. Here's Schebler. Strike 1. The fly to left, reached on an air by Jerko and popped out. And Jack Flaherty can only sit and watch. Cardinals trying to pick up Jack's 3rd win of the year. A ball and a strike, and Iglesias, fielder's indifference, advancing to second base. Runners at second and third, and the 1-1 pitch. Pulled fair inside that first base line. 2 runs will score. And Schebler to second base as he drives in 2. 3rd hit allowed by Leone.
Yeah, I think now you've got to go get Leone and bring in Gant.
Well, not what Mike Schilt wanted to do. He'll have to go again to his bullpen. We've seen Flaherty for 7 innings. Brebbia, Miller, Hicks, all a third of an inning. Leone gets 2 outs here in the 9th, and now it's John Gant, our Chevy, called to the pen.
Well, at one point, Jordan Hicks was in line for a save, removed from the game because the Cardinals added on extra runs, and that's created an opportunity here for John Gant to close it out.
So the Cardinals left in their pen have Helsley and Gallegos, and then Webb from the left side. Here's Dietrich, who entered the ballgame as a pinch hitter back in the 8th and struck out against Brebbia. Runner at second, and there's strike 1.
Gant has a lot of weapons, doesn't he? This is the curveball. He throws 95, but the curveball can be nasty too. And of course, he has the changeup that is his signature pitch.
And the 0-1 to Dietrich. That's the changeup. So curveball, changeup, 1 strike away.
That's the split grip. Creates downward movement, down and away from the left-hander.
On their feet here at Busch Stadium. 5-2 our score. Here in the top of the 9th. 0-2 the count on Derek Dietrich. Went with the fastball that Yadi could not hold on. Flaherty in line for win number 3. He would go to 3-1. Hicks came in and faced Suarez and picked up a strikeout back in the 8th. And the 0-2 line to Goldschmidt, and that'll do it. The Cardinals take 2 of 3. 5-2 the final. And St. Louis is 17-10 on the year.
Well pitched game by Flaherty. The Cardinals hang on, and they take advantage of opportunities, and the Reds could not.
Ball game ends with a line out. Flaherty picks up the win. What a homestand for St. Louis. Post game next.